This is Gemara and Eruvin Daf Yomi Beis. The learning for this week, the week of Yom Kippur, the week leading into Sukkot, as we prepare, is Chosr for Shlema for Al Shem and Yehuda Leib ben Perel Chaya, as well as Braindel Chana Bas Esther B'Soisha Chali Yisrael. Of course, all our other Chedim B'Demir Ben Yakir Men of the Meir Chaim Ben Chaim Yita Chaim Ben Sar Som Sivin Reizid Osar Basinah Livasir Chaim Sar Chaim Sar Esna. Result ben Mindel is the president of Shalei Shalmi Bas Nami B'Shavig Ben Jir Chaner V'Aldav Ben Yitzriv Daniel Ben Chaner Reizid Chaim Nachman Ben Mindel B'Soy Shar Chali Yisrael. Let's pick it up on the bottom of Nun Aleph Amid Beis, the last line. Rabba Bar Rav Chana Havi Ragol Dasim Artivna Pumbedisa. He normally traveled from a place called Artivna to a place called Pumbedisa. Now, it's important is that you see the last Rashi here. Rashi says Ragol Dasim B'Chol Shabbos from this place called Artivna to this place called Pumbedisa. Rashi continues, moving along to Nubez Amid Aleph. Rashi says, "But Yoshev Erev Shabbos B'Beisa. Erev Shabbos, he was sitting in his house. V'amar Shvi Sasi B'Sinsa. My dwelling should be in the place called Sinsa. What's Sinsa? So we know three places. We know the first place. I already forgot the names. I'm sorry. Artivna. He's going to Pumbedisa, and in between is a place called Sinsa. Says Rashi, Makom Mitzvimah Yabin Shnei T'chuyim, is a place smack in the middle. Amar, moving along into the Gemara, the top line. Amar Shvi Sasi B'Sinsa. So I want my dwelling to play in the place called Sinsa, which is smack in the middle, 2,000 amos between Pumbedisa and Artivna. Amar Abaye Mai Daitach. What are you thinking? Rameir Rav Yehuda, Lach Rav Yehuda. The halacha is like Rav Yehuda. Rashi fills us in the important details in case anyone forgot. Rashi says in the second line, "My daitach, the asherat. You're in your house. You're an usher. You have food. V'amar shvisasi b'makom plani. V'amar Rav Nachman, and Rav Nachman taught us. V'amar Rav. I'm sorry, that's the next Gemara. V'amar Rav Chisda. Let's continue again. One more time. Abaye said, "What are you thinking? We pass like Rav Yehuda." V'amar Rav Chisda. This should remind us of the machlekes we had Rav Nachman and Rav Chisda yesterday. How to learn Rav Meir and Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda said it's by both. Rav Meir said it's only by an ani. But came along. V'amar Rav Chisda. What did Rav Chisda teach us? That was the second opinion in the previous machlekes. Machlekes b'maka and plani. That's when they argue, and the machlekes is b'maka plani, and that was when Rav Yehuda said both an ani and an asher. V'amar Rav Nachman Rav Nachman. V'tani Kabosei, Amar Lei, V'amar Rav Nachman, Rashi adds an extra word over here, V'amar Rav Nachman, V'tani Kabosei, V'amar Rav Nachman. Sorry, my apologies. One more time. V'amar Rav Nachman, so Rashi in the third line says, D'loi Shari Rav Yehuda, Al B'makim, V'tani Kabosei, Rav Nachman El. So what's V'tani Kabosei? Again, let's go back. I'm sorry, I read that a little bit like a turkey. One more time. The first line, Amar Lei Abaye Mai Daitach, Ramei Rav Yehuda, Lach Rav Yehuda, V'amar Rav Chisda, Machlekes B'Makom Plani. That's how Rav Chisda learns. According to Rav Chisda, it should be very good. For Rav Nachman, we had a brayso like him on the yesterday's Amud. So what's going on over here? We had a brayso like Rav Nachman, and according to Rav Nachman, it's not going to work in this case, because according to Rav Nachman, when you want to say Eir B'Makom Ploni in a different place, it only works by an ani. This guy's an ashir. Amar Le, Haji, you're right, I'm Chayzer. Amar Chamari, Amru, Shabbos Yeshli Dalet Amos. If someone actually lives there, if someone is there, if I'm in Bein HaShemashis in a place, Shavas, Yeshlei Dalet Amos, the halacha is I get my 4 Amos plus another 2,000 Amos. So it's going to be 2,004 Amos, which if you remember, the Gemara alluded to this a few days ago when the Gemara said that that tree was within 2,004 Amos, which basically meant that you get 4 till the tree is 2,000. So says Rav Chama, that's if you're there. What if you put down your bread? You put down your piece of bread in a certain place, that's your kind of your eruv. Does your bread get Dalet Amos and then you get 2,000 Amos after that, or no? We saw this many times. The whole creation of bread was a kula. And if you're going to tell me that the bread doesn't get Dalet Amos, then what's going to happen? It's going to come out a tremendous chumrah. Not a tremendous, but it's coming to chumrah that you're going to lose 4 amos. So seemingly the Gemara wants to prove if the whole creation of placing bread was a kula, it should as well have the kula of getting you 4 amos. Says the Gemara, no, it's no proof. Which I'm sure many people are thinking that. What do you mean? If I have a choice, walking 2,000 amos or staying home, I'll choose staying home even if I lose 4 amos. So says the Gemara, it's not necessarily a proof, and we don't have an answer whether the bread gets its own 4 amos. Because the Gemara says maybe it's still a bigger kula to be able to stay home and not have to worry about traveling out to the end of the Tchum. Says the Mishnah on Beis Amid Aleph, and we're finishing the parak today. Says the Mishnah, Mishiyata Leilech. Someone leaves. He's going to make an Erev. This is what we had in yesterday's daf. Someone is going out to make an Erev Tchom at the 2,000 Amos. We spoke about this yesterday. That was the introduction. And your friend told you, what are you doing? It's too cold. It's too hot. Don't go. Don't go all the way out there. So you started going, and then he pulled you back. What's the halacha? It's as if he's kind of the shvisa, like Rashi speaks out. The fact that you wanted to go, the fact that you started going, even if you did say something, didn't say something. The point is the fact that you took those first steps, as the Gemara is going to explain, makes you be kind of the shvisa over there. Yehuda says you get the Erev, but everyone else in the city does not. Says your mayor, no, you could have made an Erev, but you didn't. You're a Chamar Gamel, which we saw many times. That means you're stuck smack in the middle. And what that means is let's say I'm here, and I get a radius of 2,000 Amos from my city. But then I wanted to go that way. I wanted to go to the edge of my city and put the Erev down over there. Says Rameir, Chamar Gamel, you're smack, you just get stuck in the middle. You get 2,000 Amos between you and that area. You can't go backwards and you can't go past that area because you're stuck in the middle. Says the Gemara, this should sound familiar. What's interesting to him and what's in the city? Rav Yehuda said, you wanted to go and you didn't end up going. You get to go 2,000 Amos. You get the Erev at the edge of the city. But everyone else does not. What's the difference? The case is that you had two houses, and between your house over here and your house in the other city is 2 Tchum Shabbos, is 4,000 Amos. So you yourself came in the Naflik Leil Orcha, since you started going on the road, you're in the middle of the road, you don't have any food with you, you're considered like an ani. But everyone else in the city has shir nenu. Everyone else is wealthy people, they're home, they have food. So since you're an ani, therefore it's going to work for you to be kaina and Erev out 2,000 Amos away, but everyone else, it is not going to. Tanami Hachi, says the Gemara, I have a riot to this. Someone has two houses, and in between the two houses is 2 Tchum Shabbos, 4,000 Amos, like we just said. Once you were hichzik b'derech, important words, once you started going on the road seemingly, kana Erev divir ameir, your kind of your ear, says the words of Rav Yehuda, I'm sorry. Yasser al-Kain, Rav Yehuda, afilu matzu chaveri. Let's keep these words very importantly. Until now, what were we saying? You started walking, your friend tapped you and said, what are you doing? Don't go. It's too hot, it's too cold, don't go there. We said the mere fact that you got up to go allows you to be in your Erev at the end of 2,000 Amos. You're like an ani, you're on the road, you get the Erev there. Comes along Rav Yehuda. Yes, sir, Al-Kain, says Rav Yehuda. Afilu matzu chaveri, your friend finds you. Va'amar lein tells you, lein poi. Go to sleep right now. Don't go. Eischamu, it's too hot. Eisinu, it's too cold. Still, lemachar mashkin v'hilich. Tomorrow you can get up and go. So from Yisrael Yehuda, it sounds like, and the Gemara is about to discuss this, as Rashi, look at Rashi directly across. Yasser al-Kain says Rashi, afilu lo yechzik b'derech. Elo amar lo says. You didn't actually take a step. You said you're going to go, and your friend said you don't have to. So that is how Rabbi Yehuda is adding on. Before we continue, let's get this clear. The Gemara began and the Gemara started that if you actually take a step, you start going in the road, you're considered an ani because you're on the road, and then your friend says, what are you doing? It's too hot, it's too cold, don't go. Okay, then you get your ear of 2,000 Amos because you tried to go, you were about to go. It's as if you were going, you're an ani, you can get your ear of Makim Blaini. However, comes like Rabbi Yehuda, then he adds on to that a bigger chiddush. You didn't even go, you didn't take the first step. You said, I want to go. That, says Rabbi Yehuda, that is enough. Amar Rabba, loimer kuli amalei peligi ditzarch. Says Rabba, everyone agrees. And this is going to be a machlekes. Says Rabba, loimer kuli amalei peligi ditzarch. Everyone agrees you have to at least say that you're going. Ki peligi lahachzik. What's the machlekes? You actually have to take the first step. Lahachzik, you have to go on the road. That is how Rabba learns. Comes along Rabbi Yosef Amar, Rabbi Yosef Amar, lahachzik kuli amalei peligi ditzarch. The opposite. Everyone agrees you have to actually take a step. Ki peligi loimar. The machlekes is, does it suffice to say it? That is the machlekes between Rabbi Yosef and Rabbah, how to learn up the previous machlekes, whether they're arguing about actually, whether saying it according to everyone is going to work, or whether everyone agrees you have to say it, and the machlekes is, did you take the first step? Or says Rabbi Yosef, no, everyone agrees that you have to take the first step. The machlekes is about saying it. Again, obviously very large practical ramifications, whether you didn't actually take the first step. Says the Gemara, first white line in Beis Amanal, Kaman Azla Hada Amar Ula. Who is the following statement that Ula said to me? Someone who is on the road, and your friend turns you around. Hareyu muchzar. You're considered to have turned around, umuchzik. And it's considered that you were muchzik as if you took the first step. Says the Gemara, well, what's going on here? What exactly is going on over here? Did he take the first step? Did he not take the first step? As you look all the way down in Rashi. Rashi over here. Where's this Rashi? Rashi's about 7 lines to the end of the Amid. Rashi says, Muchzar, mash like on a shvisa klal. What does muchzar sound like? Muchzar sounds like you're not going to the shvisa. The muchzar, you have to turn around. Muchzak mashma de kana shvisa. That you're yes kind of shvisa. So now let's go back to the Gemara. The Gemara doesn't make so much sense. Which is the Gemara's question. What did Ula teach us on the first white line? And your friend says, turn around. How do you do muchzar? You have to turn around, which means you don't get your shvisa. You didn't acquire your dwelling place. But you are acquiring your shvisa. So what is it? Did you acquire or did you not? What's going on over here? Says the Gemara, answers the Mara Hachikamar. Three lines from the bottom. Afal pisha muchzar. Even though you are turning around, even though your friend told you to turn around, muchzik, you took the first step, therefore it is enough. Kiman kirab Yosef. That goes according to Rav Yosef. Well, let's take this as Rashi so we don't get confused. Rashi over here says, Kiman kirab Yosef aliv Rav Yosef Rav Yehuda. Rashi says, Kiman kirab Yosef lilishna kama. The parshi Rav Yosef aliv Rav Yosef tarti by Amira tlin boy vechazaka acha boy la Kiman azla hadavar ula debay tarti shehechzek hainu chazaka vechzek chavero hainu linu pai kirab Yosef aliv Rav Yosef Rav Yehuda. Who said that you need both? You actually stay, and you actually have to take the first step. That goes according to Rav Yosef, according to the opinion of Rav Yosef, Rav Yehuda. Says the Gemara, another story. Bar ishtata, I see kalkala. Bar ishtata, Rashi says the name of a person that they brought him a basket, the peri of fruit. The Rav Nasan bar Oishya. Bar ishtata, I see kalkala, the peri of Rav Nasan bar Oishya. He brought a basket of fruit to Rav Nasan bar Oishya. Kavi Azel, as he was going, Shavke, he waited. Adin nochis darga. Till he took the first step down the steps. He's leaving the guy's house. He takes one step outside. Amrle, beisacha. Rashi says, beisacha linpai. Come, stay here for the night. He waited for him to take the first step outside. Everyone could see where this is going already. Then he says, come, stay for the night. Stay called the vazel. He got up and he went. Says the Gemara, come on. Rav Yosef Rav Yehuda. Again, this goes according to Rav Yosef Rav Yehuda. As you see in the top Rashi that says, you need both. You need to actually take the first step and you need to talk about it. He waited for him to take the first step. And then Gemara says, no, it's not a proof. Really, it goes, really even fit, according to Rabbah, the way that he explained Rabbi Yehuda. And the point was, he just happened, let's see how Rashi here says, Rashi here explains, like Rabbah, leave Rabbi Yehuda, Kiman havik Rabbi Yosef, leave Rabbi Yehuda. That was the question of the Gemara. He went on the road. Umeshani, what's the answer? Loi, the Amar Maskinan. Askina. We're not talking about where he said anything. Ukiram believe Rabbi Yehuda, Devayi Tarti. I mean, that was good. That was the debate over here, which obviously is a little bit difficult because the story did not explain exactly what the story was. But the Gemara says that no, is that you actually did say it. You see, Rashi's grappling. It really can fit both ways. Just better with Rabbah. We should the Rabbah. For Rabbi Yosef, it looks like Rabbah for 3 cases, and therefore says the Gemara that we're going with Rabbah according to Rabbi Yehuda. They have to both say, I'm going on the road, and as well, you take the first step. Where did he say he's going on the road? So the Gemara is assuming, and that's what Rashi speaking out, maybe that was the case, and that's how the Gemara pushes away the Raya. Maybe the case was that he as well said, I'm going on the road. Says the Gemara, Rameir Kolshi Yachol Arif. So Rameir concluded the Mishnah and said anyone who could make an Erev doesn't, he's a Chamar Gamel. He's stuck in the middle. What do we say what that means? It means he has where he is right now. He has 2,000 amas where he wanted to go, and he just gets the 2,000 amas in between. He doesn't get either way any leeway. Says the Gemara, we already learned this one time. Safik, if you have a case of a Safik, you're not sure, is mayor of here, is mayor of there. Rameir Rav Yehuda, so why do our Mishnah teach the din again? We seemingly already knew this. Then in the case where you're not sure, is mayor of here, is mayor of there, it's a Safik. Amar Rav Shesha is loitem with them, they're mayor Safik Erev. Safik Erev, Safik Lo Erev. Don't say Rameir only said his case when we're not sure if you made Erev. Hu Davi Chamar Gamel. That's when Rameir says, you're not sure you made an Erev? Okay, you get this middle area. Aval Vadai, but if you for certain that you did not make an Erev, Lo Erev, Lo Chamar Gamel, then it's not a Chamar Gamel. That's what you would have thought. Ela Afilu, our Mishnah comes to teach us. Vadai Lo Erev, you certainly did not make an Erev, Avi Chamar Gamel. You still are stuck in the middle. Da'ach, in our case, Vadai Lo Erev, In our case, you certainly did not make an Erev, as you see over here. It's quite a lengthy Rashi. As Rashi says, Shleimer Shvisasi l'sham nami machzakin alei b'sav mishum gilui daita, and there's different l'shainis over here. But the point is that in our case, you for sure did not make an Erev. You wanted to, we didn't actually get there, so you for sure did not make an Erev, and still Rameir, the Chiddush is learning that you're Chamer Gamel, you are stuck in the middle. Says the Mishnah closing off the parak, Mishi yatzachos l'tcham, afilu amach zleikanis. You leave the tchum, you mess up, one amma, boom, you're out. You can't come back in. Rav Lazar Mishnayim Yikanis Shlosh Yikanis. No, you get 2 amma leeway, which should sound familiar. We've had this opinion of Rav Lazar. He says you smack in the middle, you give your Abraham 2 on either side, 2 on this side, and therefore if you're 2 outside, you can come back in, but 3 ammas you cannot. Amar Rav Chanina, Ragloi Achas B'Seichat Chum, Ragloi Achas Chotzot Chum. Right there, you're stuck, froze in the middle. Unfortunately, this is what happens. Think one step, now what do? Says Rav Chanina, Lo Yikanis. You can't go back in 1 foot outside. What does the pasuk say? Im tashiv mishaves raglecha. That if you im tashiv mishabos raglecha, if you're gonna hold back your foot literally because of Shabbos, raglecha ksiv. It says your feet. Your foot raglecha without a yod, which refers to the singular, and therefore what? Therefore you can't come back in. Once you leave 1 foot, you're out. Ask the Gemara, Vatani and Raisa. Ragloi achas b'soichat chum. Ragloi achas chotletzikum. Yechanes, you could come back in. Answers the Gemara, Mani achermi. That's the opinion of Acherim. The Tanya acherim aimrim, the makim sheruba yunisker. You go with the majority of your body. And therefore, when you take 1 step out, the majority of your body is still in, so you can come back in. So now we have a machlekes. The Tanikama we saw in a braysim, Shabbos Mishavos Raglecha, teaches me that 1 foot done, can't go back in. Acherim said no, goes by the majority of your body, so 1 foot you can still come back in. Igadi Amri says the Gemara, Rav Chanina, a different way of learning it. Amar Rav Chanina, Ragloi achas b'seichat chum, Ragloi achas chosletchum. Yikane, stop, you could come in. Dichsei the boss in Shabbos Mishavos Raglecha. Raglecha karina. Now he's going out the way that it's written, but it's read raglecha as if there was an extra yud. So it's read raglecha, and therefore it means plural. So if only 1 foot goes out, you still can come back in. Asks the Gemara, but everybody says you can't come in. You go where the majority of your body is located, and therefore you could, yes, come back in. Says the Gemara. Right. I'm sorry, I don't know if I read that correctly. Hu da'amar ka'acherim. Again, it's a little bit different like we said before. Before we said hamani achermi. That's what I got myself confused. Before we said hamani achermi. Before we said that's going with acherim. Now we're saying hu da'amar, that opinion that we just said, that is like the acherim that says the magam shubu niskar, and therefore you can be allowed to, yes, come back in. And not like the other brayse that says you cannot come back in. Rav Lazar Mishnayim Yikanis Shlosh Yikanis. 2 amos you come back in, 3 amos you cannot come back in. We see the end line of the parak in sight. Says the Gemara about Tanya into the brayse of Lazoimer. What's going on? This brayse says 1 foot, 1 amma you can't come back in. I'm sorry, 2 amos you cannot come back in. And the Mishnah says 2 amos you can, yes, come back in. Answers the Gemara like Hasha. Hadakar chada become atarti. You walked 1 amma, you're standing in amma number 2. Hadakar tarti become atlas. Once you walk 2 and you're standing in amma number 3, it's semantics, basically, but everyone agrees that 2 ammas is your leeway. You get 2 ammas and you can come back in. So when you only walked 1 amma and you're standing on amma number 2, you're within 2 ammas, come back in. When you walk 2 and you're standing on amma number 3, then you cannot come back in. Ask the Gemara, Vatani into the brayse of Lazar. Clearly, 1 am you can't come back in. Answers the Gemara, Kitani Hilim Moidid, a different case of Lezer's maskim or Lezer mitz is machmir. Lemoidid, if someone who's measuring, that's not even learned to the Mishnah. Lemoidid Shamru, someone who's measuring, he doesn't know where his tchum is and he's measuring on a Shabbos. So what do we see? We saw the Mishnah taught us already that you take 2,000 medium-sized steps, and that's your tchum. So if you're measuring, noisle alpayim amma, afilu, even if even if you end in a cave, meaning the moment you enter 2,000 amas, that's all. That's Rav Elazar agrees to that statement. So that is when the Brisa says even 1 amma out, you're out, is when you're measuring. But when our Mishnah says in a normal case of tchum, you get a 2 amma leeway. Says the Mishnah closing off the parak, chutz l'tchum. So when he got very dark and he's outside the boundaries, afilu amma achas leikanes, he messed up. Shabbos begins. He's 1 amma out of the tchum. He can't go back in. but he was stinky, 1 am out, what are you going to do? Rav Shimon Omer, afilu 5 am is yikanis. Nah, even 15 you come back in. Pretty extreme. Why? She'en ha-mishoichos ma'amatzin es amidois. You know why? Because the mishayches, the surveyors are not precise, and therefore you get a little bit of a leeway. You're 15 amas out, no big deal. You could come back in. And Rashi here points out, which I'm sure many people are thinking, Rashi says, Lav dafka tesvav amos. That's also lav dafka. 15 amos about. It's not precise. Says the Gemara, they tell you because people make a mistake. Says the Gemara, Tana, what does it mean people make a mistake? They tell you mida. Those who make a mistake in the measurements, meaning, and Rashi here, this long Rashi speaks out, that people, that they purposely made the tchum either for that people, they counted for people that make a mistake, and they said, oh, someone might be accident walk a few too many steps, so they purposely put the marker inside, therefore you're going to get a bit of a lirei. Hadjun alach misha itzio, we shall return to this 4th parak of Eruvin. I hope you all do a wonderful chazara. It's a new year. Yom Kippur has passed us. Well, when we listen to this, Yom Kippur will be past us. Hadjun alach, we should come back and we'll forge headstrong into the 5th parak of Eruvin. Let's just make us chal. Keitan ma'arben es ayarim. Bayis nichnas, bayis yoytzei, pogum nichnas, pogum yoytzei. Hayisham gedudigos kavayis esar tfachim. We're going to discuss how you measure the city. We'll pick it up from here in Wednesdays. I don't remember which daf anymore. In the next year, Mir Hashem, on Daf Non Gimel. Mazel tov to everyone.